This is TJ with Tech Made Easy. My channel is all about making things affordable, practical, and easy. Today we're going to take a dive into a $150 NAS. I see these on YouTube every now and then, but they leave a few things out. But let's see how close we can get to a $150 NAS. Now the NAS that I'm going to present is 24 terabytes. And I think you're going to be surprised at the price that we can come in at with this budget DY NAS. Let's get started. Okay, so let's talk about this. Is a $150 NAS, can that actually be done? Is this really realistic? I watched this guy's YouTube. This is his thumbnail. And what did he leave out of this system? He left out the hard drives. Now, granted, he did get a lot of backlash because of that. And he did put links to hard drives in his system, but those hard drives were going to cost you another $420. So now you're looking at $520 for this system. And I've seen this happen before with YouTubers. Now, that being said, before I go any further, don't get discouraged, because we are going to make a real budget NAS here that's 24 terabytes for under $250. So hang on, because my intention is to give you inexpensive NAS. But this guy, he did make another video because he got a lot of backlash that didn't include the hard drives. And so he bought a used system for like 25 bucks on eBay. Everything was cheap. He bought used hard drives, put them in there, but he only had 4 terabytes. We're going to have 24 terabytes. And to me, 4 terabytes isn't a NAS to me. You can go buy a hard drive and connect it through a USB port on your computer and give you an extra 4 terabytes. Or you can buy a hard drive and put it into your computer. So a NAS to me is something that has enough storage that isn't going to be part of your computer. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I have here. So before I do that though, this is just a real quick summary of what he actually did his original system. He got a case and motherboard, 8 gigs of RAM, and the motherboard too, the CPU was soldered onto it, so it wasn't that beefy of a CPU as well. He got a used power supply. He had to buy a 4-port SATA card because the motherboard only had 2 SATA ports on it. He bought a USB drive for the operating system. He did buy a 2.5 gig NIC card. His performance was really around 150 gigs though, sometimes 4, sometimes 2, but mostly 150. And so the total of his system was 152. Hard drives were 416. So the total of his system, it was $568. Now he did mention used hard drives, but he didn't put any links to used hard drives. He put links into brand new 4 terabyte server hard drives. So let's take a look. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put a NAS on a budget. So let's take a look at this. So we're going to buy a used PC from eBay. The one that I'm looking at is 16 gigs of RAM. It has a 4-core 8-thread CPU and it has a 1 gig GPU. Now we're going to have to purchase this USB SSD hybrid for the operating system, and then we'll have a total. Then we have our 24 terabytes. So we're going to have 6 terabyte HGST server hard drives. Now I always buy my hard drives used, and I buy these HGST server hard drives. Corporations only run their hard drives for so many hours or so many years, and then they turn them into recyclers. They test these hard drives to make sure they're working. I have never had one of these go bad. That doesn't mean they won't. The hard drives that I always went bad, because when I first started building my own servers, I put desktop drives in them. They went out quick. So these HGST, they're a huge company. They make hard drives for all kinds of they manufacture hard drives for all kinds of companies out there. So you may see a company's name on that, but it'll still say HGST on it. So it might be an HP, but it'll say HGST. So now this total system is $233. This is an awesome NAS budget system. 32 gigs of RAM, 24 terabytes, 8 cores, 16 threads. So now let's break this down. So right now there's an HP system at the time I'm making this, a Z420, for $85. And the reason why I put $80 to $100 here, because that's really the range you're looking at. But this does have 16 gigs of RAM, and it has a I messed up when I was talking about this is a 4-core, 8 threads. I'm going to be showing another system that's going to be 8 cores, 16 threads. So this is 4-core, 8 threads, but this CPU that they have in here is an E5 1620. It's a Xeon, and it can work as a server. I had something, my very first server, I had a CPU that was very similar to this 4-core, 8 thread. Has a 1 gigabyte GPU, 120 gigabyte USD hybrid for $24. The total system is $109. $124 for the hard drives, because we're putting in 4, and they are 30. We'll break those hard drive prices down in a minute. Now I can't remember, but it adds up to $124, which gives us $233. Compared to his price, if he would have included those hard drives, $568. Now, I would have given him kudos if he would have put used hard drives in there, because that would have lowered his price on the hard drives, but he can choose his brand new ones. So I'm going off of what he suggested in his comments. So options, let's talk about options, because we can even make this server even more beefier if we want. So let's talk about what the options are here. Before we talk about options, remember I told you that that particular server that he got there, and it's a V2, it's a Z420 V2. Unfortunately, HP does not distinguish, they do not have a model number that distinguishes a V1 version and a V2 version. I personally like to get the V2 versions, but I do have this exact same system as a backup that's a V1. I have a file server that is a V2, this very same system. But you can usually get these V1s between $80 and $100. It doesn't mean that they're going to come with the right specs, or they might come bare bone. So I always buy my own RAM, I buy my own CPUs, and that's so that I'm going to price this out as if it's not coming with anything in it. The one I just showed you before just happens to be a great buy that you can actually just throw hard drives in and an operating system and have a server. So in this one here, we're looking at $13 for 32 gigs of ECC RAM. We're talking at 8 core, 16 threads for $6. Believe it or not, it's a great CPU. It's an E5 2670, and I'll have more of this detail as we go along. Sometimes these don't come with a GPU, so I threw in $10 here for the GPU. Again, we're doing 120 gig USB hybrid for the operating system, $24. By the way, you don't need this big, but it's hard to buy anything less these days. And I will talk about a USB option as well. Anyway, so $153 for this system, and that's probably more realistic than the other one. But if you find a system like that other one, you can use it, save around 40-50 bucks. So now we're $124 for the hard drives, and we're $277 for this system. So now let's look at the options to even go more. Let's say we want more hard drive space than 24 terabytes. So let's look at what options we have here. And I did put on here 4 terabyte hard drives that cost them, they're $25. There's 6 terabytes that we're using are $31. The 8 terabytes that we're using are $60, and then there's 10 terabyte hard drives, $75 a piece. 4 of those would be $300, then obviously 100, 124, 240, 300 for 4 of them. Now, just so you know, this HP system can take up to 6 hard drives though. So you can throw more than just 4 hard drives in the HP Z420. And then I've got 64 gigs of RAM here for $25. We've got a NIC card, a 10 gig NIC card for $50. So let's take a look at what some of these options would look like if we wanted to do a 10 gigabit server. So option 1 is this right here. So what's making the difference here are the hard drives. The hard drives are going to be more expensive, and I'm going to show you why they're more expensive. Oh, excuse me, not here. I mean, since we're going to put in 4 10 terabyte hard drives. That's going to get us up to $300. So 300 plus 153 gives us $453 for a 40 terabyte system, 32 gigs of RAM, 8 cores, 16 threads. Compared, if he would have put pricing in there that he put in the comments, it would have been $568. He should have put used hard drives in there. Okay, now, so now what we're going to do, now we're going to look at 10 gig option. Okay, so if we want a server that's going to support 10 gig speeds, we have to upgrade some things on this. But again, this is what it's all about, options. These are budget options. These are budget 10 gig servers. So in this case, you're going to need, since we're doing 4 hard drives, you need a right angle SATA to SAS adapter, because we're going to have to get SAS hard drives. You're going to need an 8-port 12 gigabyte controller, and the reason why for that is this controller is 12 gigabits throughput instead of 6 gigabit. Now you've got 24 terabyte. You got your hard drives here. They're 4 terabyte SAS and they're 12 gigabit throughput. You've got your 10 gigabit network card, $50. So you've got 8, which is 432. You got 75 for your controller. You got your hard drives here is 160, and then you've got your NIC here. That adds up to $317. Plus your system is $470 for a 10 gigabit system. We are still below his wimpy. Sorry, excuse me. I should say that we're still below his $150 NAS. Okay, so now let's go on. Let's do another system here that's a 40 terabyte, 10 gigabyte option. Now, of course, everything's going to be the same here except for the price of the hard drive, so that's going to bump us up. And I did include 64 gigs of RAM in this one, which adds a little bit to it as well. So now we are at $165 for the system, plus 517, it's $682 for a 40 terabyte, 10 gigabit server. Okay, now I'm not saying this is what you're gonna do, because maybe you are just looking at that pure budget system. But I'm just saying that with this HP Z420, you could upgrade it in the future to a 10 gigabit network server. So now I did a video on this $580 server. You notice it has a 5 bay in here. I have another option that's great about this server. It can fit 4 or 5 bay enclosures into the server itself. And this particular one was going to be 48 terabytes. It's not a 10 gigabit server for $585. And at the time I did this, these hard drives were cheaper than they are now. That's the thing about eBay. Some of these hard drive recyclers, sometimes you can really find a good deal on those HGST hard drives. And this was a screaming deal at the time that I made this video. And this was the 5 bay enclosure. I think it's around $85. You get the 4 bay. But if you're interested in this, you need to watch my video on this particular system, because you can't just get any 4 or 5 bay that fits in this HP. It's not that you don't have room for the case, but it's the length of it. It will hit the power supply if you don't get a short enough one, and this one fits. And this is on eBay, or not? That was on Newegg. Okay, so let's talk about this HP. This one here is more realistic. This is a V1 that you can get on. Oh, all right, this is the one. This is the one I was talking about. That's $85. It's this E5-1620B2. It's 16 gigs of RAM, and this is the AMD video card that it has in it. This is a great deal because you're getting a V2. Also, this CPU in today's standards is not that great of a CPU, but if you're doing a budget server, it works great. I personally like a beefier CPU, but like I said, my first budget server, I had something comparable to this CPU in my first one. So then this here, this is a HP Z420 version 1. If it was a version 2, it had a V2 in there somewhere, and it's $44, but $47 shipping and handling, and so you're looking closer to $90 for it. That's why I say you can pick these up all day long between $80 and $40, but it has no hard drive. I don't remember. It doesn't look. Okay, so it does have 8 gigs of RAM. It does have a CPU in here, but I guarantee you the CPU in here, you don't want to use this CPU for a server. Because a lot of these where they don't put the description of the CPU, they are really low-end Xeons. Okay, so let's just go to the next here. So this is what I use. This is that $23 I was talking about. This is a SSD hybrid. It plugs into your USB port, and I put on. It is probably not good practice. Now in this system, you can put an SSD drive in it. You want to have your operating system on, but it is not good practice to run a server off a thumb drive. A lot of people do it. Excuse me. And Unraid does it, but Unraid buys a quality thumb drive. And if you're going to do a thumb drive, you need a quality one. And that's why I put the Samsung here. And it's, you know, it's half the price of that one. But I prefer the SSD hybrids are going to last a long time. Okay, so here's your hard drive that I was talking about, your $31 for your 6 terabyte hard drive. Here's the 20 terabyte. I didn't put the 8 terabyte on here because I was looking at it, and the 6 terabyte and the 10 terabyte to me were the better deals, but that's up to you. I'm just showing you these really quick, and it's free shipping. So now this hard drive is if you're going to do. Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me. Yes, this hard drive is the one that you would choose if you want to do a 10 terabyte networking server. It's going to be a SAS, and it's going to be 12 gigabyte throughput, 12 gigabytes per second. Okay. And this one here is the 10 gigabyte one. Again, 12 gigabyte. It's very important that you look at this 12 gigabyte per second, because that's what helps get your speed. Okay, so you would need this controller card. It's an LSI, but LSI, again, they make these controller cards for a whole bunch of companies. It says Supermicro on it, but as you can see here in the description, it says LSI. So no matter what company it is here selling this, as long as it has LSI in there, then you're good to go. And it has to be the 12 gigabyte per second one. So now here's a network card, $50. They sell these on eBay all the time for $50. Sometimes you can get them less. Here's 64 gigs of RAM, $25, and then this is the CPU, the E5-2670, and if you this is version 1, the version 2. That was supposed to be version 2 on the slide. Sorry about that. This is $9. This will be a little more powerful than that version 1. And then you can get an E5-2690. I didn't put that on here for $20. And this version here has 10 cores, so it's 20 threads. And the E5-2690 is also 10 cores, 20 threads. And and it would be great if you're going to run some VMs on it. Again, you can run some light VMs on the other system, and you can run Plex on there if you want. But I'm just giving you options. And then here's your SAS, SATA to SAS adapter that you would need if you're going to run those SAS hard drives. And so we're back here. So our budget NAS, $277, which is realistic because you can't always find one of these HPs that just happen to be like that one where you have the right amount of RAM, you have the right CPU on there, and the GPU in it to just throw hard drives in it for a server. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. This is TJ with Tech Made Easy. Have a great day.
Now that was easy peasy.